Hi, and welcome to your next episode. Guess what? I had a big birthday and it got me thinking the point where I am in my life, the big 50. I admit I had a little wobble the day before. Things started to feel a little real. I mean, when you hear the number 50, it sounds so big. And it was that enormity and that sense of almost responsibility that comes with being of such a certain age that had me a little shaken. It was stirring things up for me a little bit. And so I kind of explored that. Where was that coming from? And it was that sense of feeling so big. Now, I know that I feel young. I sometimes have to, give myself a little talking to and say, you know what, Marie, you're not a young whippersnapper. As much as I like fun and games like the next person, biologically, I am this age. Physically, mentally, emotionally, I might appear or behave younger than those mature years of 50. And I love that about myself. I have a young outlook on life. I love, being able to keep up with my kids. I love racing them, any opportunity I can get of giving them like a little 100-meter sprint race, then I'll be there. And I've always been of the mindset that as long as I feel able to go to the gym, fling weights around, do a step class, do a body pump class, do anything, as long as I can touch my toes and I've got that flexibility, I'm happy. Because for me, movement means youth, it means vitality, it means being able to do the things that I want to. And if I want to climb on top of the cupboards to reach something from the top, I'll bounce up onto the sides, onto the sideboard, and I will go and reach for it. And I still feel able to do it. So physically, yeah, I feel as I always have done. And I haven't had problems with my mobility. I know a couple of years ago I had an issue with a trapped nerve in my shoulder, and that was absolute agony because I wasn't able to exercise. I wasn't able to do the things that I was able to, and I felt restricted. Yeah, in summer last year, I strained my calf muscle. I was playing netball, so it was a physical related injury. And even that, so I wasn't able to even walk with the speed that I normally do when I felt restricted. So vitality comes with that feeling of mobility, and I still have that. So when I say turning 50 presented some deeper exploration, that's what I mean. So for me, turning 50 was quite significant. It has been quite significant. And in the run up to this milestone birthday, I kind of explored that a little bit more and what that meant for me stepping into this new decade. And, part of my story is my past. I have explored and spoken quite openly about my experiences within my childhood, my experiences within my young adulthood, and how relationships have kind of worn me down a little bit. So, whether that's family relationships and family dynamics and personal relationships. I've shared that I am a survivor of domestic abuse, and journeying through my adult life and getting to a point where I turned 40. And I say when I turned 40, that was the catalyst really for me, because I had such an empowering decade in my 40s that laid the groundwork. So I knew that when I was stepping into my 50th decade, that a lot of that, for want of a better word, baggage, I wanted to meet head on. I wanted to address some of those patterns that had become my blueprints. I wanted to address that because stepping into this next decade, I want to make even more progress than what I did in my 40s. And for me to do that, I've had to unpick an awful lot and gain that clarity about why I've done the things I've done in the past and what that meant for me, and why was I, or why have I in my past been attracted to certain types of individuals. And I've kind of known or come to realize why that was. But when you having that reflected back to you in a way that, in talking in terms of safety and creating safety within your body, within you, not just physically, but emotionally, it's helped me unpick an awful lot. And I think when I've done that, and that journey that I'm taking going into my 50th year, I'm just ready for this next chapter. And I feel really excited by this year, particularly because I have so many big things coming up. And, people asking me all the time, like, how am I going to cope when my youngest go to university? And it is quite daunting. I've touched on this in previous episodes. It is daunting because for the last 30 years, throughout my entire adult life, all I've done is parented. My eldest has just turned 30. My youngest are turning 18 in the summer. And all I've known from the age of 19, from when I was pregnant with my eldest, right up until this point, I've always been a caregiver. I've always been the primary caregiver of my three children, and I don't know any different. My life is governed by them, whether that is the school run, whether that is the food shopping, whether that is their social activities. My life has been governed by my children for the last 30 years. And that feels really big. And as much as I'm not trying to stress myself out about it, I am very excited about it. So I'm trying to be very present in where we are now. So at the weekend, we had another offer holder day for one of my children. I have twins, and they are both going to university in September. So we had an offer holder day. So I have lots of offer holder days coming up for both of my children, as well as what we've done in the past, where we've done the open days. We visited 11 university open days, and now we have offer holder days. And I said to my daughter, we traveled, it was just me and her that traveled to go to her offer holder day when we were coming back, I said, oh, so is this the one that you want? And she's really quite taken with this university. And she was from the first moment she's seen it, which I'm really pleased about. And it is still very much her forerunning, but it's still her first choice. So, and I said to her, because I'm really excited about this next step. And like for me as a parent, as much as it seems big, for her, it's really exciting. And I'm very caught up in that excitement of this next step. I mean, she's got work to do. She needs to, as both of them do, they have A-levels that they need to sit. They have results they need to gain so they can meet the conditions of their offer. So there is lots of work in front of them, but I am very excited for them. And as a parent, supporting my children through this next phase, this next transition, it's a very honoured position to be in. And I feel very blessed, and this is recorded the day after Mother's Day. I'm very blessed to have such amazing children who want to spend time with me, who want me to share in their excitement for this next phase as much as I want to share it with them. And they're allowing me to, because all too often I come across people whose children are very independent, or they would go off and do this. I mean, there was a number of children who were on their own when we went to this offer holder day who were viewing their potential university by themselves. And I don't know the circumstances as to why it might, there's many different circumstances, but I'm pleased that my children want me to be a part of it as much as I want to be a part of it. And it is their next step. And I can obviously offer my advice and think, okay, well, I think this university would be good for you, or they have this is a bonus for them. So I'll give my advice, but equally, I have to listen to them and what they want as well. So that's an interesting place to be in. I'm so excited for this next phase for them. But then with that comes that kind of daunting realization that I'm going to be coming home to an empty house every evening, and I won't have to take them to activities or any other, whether it's work, whether it's a university visit. I won't have that. And yeah, so I had a conversation with my eldest daughter yesterday, and she was like, what on earth are you going to do when they've gone? How are you feeling about it? And as I repeated to her, as I repeated to my friends, that it is a big year, and with that comes opportunity for newness and finding myself. Like I say, the last 10 years have been a journey to me doing that. From even when I turned 40, I had a list of 40 things that I wanted to do during my 40th year. And that involved traveling, it involved getting my affairs in order, updating my will, practical things. I think I'd probably registered to be an organ donor, tying up those kind of life admin roles. And with that, obviously, that comes again with me turning 50, because I need to update some things as well again. So with my lessons learned from turning 40, going into my 50th year, there's lessons that I want to going forward. And that's more of the legacy that I want to leave. Like I say, being a parent is a privilege. It's not gifted to many, and there's many different circumstances. And kind of reflecting on the day after Mother's Day, with that reflection comes that perspective. So for me, as a daughter of parents that I have, I don't have any relationship with my father at this moment, at this time of recording. My relationship with my mother is distant. So I don't have that support from my mum and maternal side of the family. And equally, I don't have any support from my paternal family. And as I'm a lone parent, as a mother, I am supporting my daughter, who is a bereaved mother. So Mother's Day for me is focused entirely on supporting my daughter through the difficulty of Mother's Day for her. So she's my priority, as my children are my priority. I would lay my life down for them. I would drop everything to help them. I would drop everything to be their cheerleader. I would do that for them. That's my role as a parent. And I was having a discussion with one of my younger children the other day, and it was a bit of joking and a bit of jostling. And, as a parent, that's your choice to have a child. And this is how the conversation was going with one of my daughters. I chose to have her. And equally, she chose to be my child and chose me as a parent at that moment, at that time, when she was, the moment of conception. And she chose me. So the decisions that I've made from the best intentions. And as a parent, you don't always get it right. But I see that as a privilege as they're getting older and they're developing their own personalities. I have some really interesting political debates with one of my daughters, and she's very focused on her beliefs, whether it's political, whether it's socially. She sees me as I mean, I thought I was leaning more of a socialist, but she says I'm most definitely not a socialist. I'm leaning on feminist. But then we have discussions about feminist theory, feminist from a political stance, and then so the conversation continues. So it was very much about my choice to bring her into the world and that responsibility that I have. And that then leads me into that kind of, like I say, with that estrangement that I have from my own parents. And I think as I turned 50 and that realized, like, when your child is born, you remember that day. You know the significance of a birthday. So I had a text message from my mum, and I didn't have any communication from my dad at all. And I haven't for the last however many years, which has been fine. And I think my birthday came, my mum had sent, like I say, my mum had sent me a text message the day before, which was very kind of matter of fact, happy birthday. I hope you enjoy. Just a similar message to what you'd send to anybody, which is fine. Like I said, which is fine. And then I didn't have any message so I had a message from my mum, like I say, text message, and from one of my siblings. I have two other siblings. I had no message from them, and I didn't have a message from my dad. Now, was I kind of okay with messages from my siblings that I can kind of take it or leave it? But as a parent, when you know how significant a birthday is, a birth date, your child being born on that day, to not have any recognition from it, kind of had a little moment. I thought, no, I'm not looking to reconcile with my dad at all. I'm not looking for any reconciliation. I don't need it to move forward. I don't need an apology. But for him to have nothing relating to the birth of his eldest child, it kind of made me feel like, okay, that says more about him than what it does me. And that's not a reflection on me as a child. That's purely a reflection on him and his desire to not have any kind of relationship with me. So, like I said, I'm not looking for a reconciliation. I'm not looking for an apology. I wasn't expecting anything, but then to not have anything, it's kind of like, okay. So, like I say, that says more about him than what it does about me. But equally, I'm not looking for a reconciliation anyway. But it was that kind of moment. I'm thinking, as a parent, I think it would have to be something really diabolical for me not to communicate with my child on their birthday. Like maybe if you're in a coma, or like obviously if you've died. I think it'd have to be something quite serious for that to happen. And like I said, I turned 50, so it's not like just another birthday. Well, it is another birthday, but it is quite poignant, significant, reaching another decade. And yeah, so it was that kind of realization. I thought, okay, well, actually, then, so one sibling did send me a birthday message. My mum did. My dad and two siblings didn't. So with that comes that realization that I am literally the only family member that my children have contact with regularly or intermittently. So I am the kind of linchpin for my children going forward. So that kind of helps me stay on that path of being the change maker, for facilitating a strong relationship for my children between themselves, for my children with myself, and empowering them to not take any nonsense from anybody, whether that's family, friends, people that they come across in life. We, as a family, we talk very openly about lots of different things. And as I've said before, there's some topics that I will not discuss with my children because they are my children and I am their parent. But some things I will talk quite openly about. And there's some things I can't explain to them. And I'm not, if they want to seek clarification from somebody, I'm encouraging them to do that rather than second guessing themselves or thinking, oh, well, maybe the person meant this, or maybe they didn't mean that. Let's not get into the habit of minimizing how someone's behavior has impacted us, whether or not we think it was on purpose or not. Let's seek clarification, because if you seek clarification, then that's clear that you've understood what they meant by it, rather than us like answering all these questions. So, like I said, I haven't sought clarification as to why I didn't receive any communication from my siblings or my dad, because their non-communication is enough. I don't need anything else to clarify that's fine. I don't need to seek, oh, what did they mean by that, because that says it, doesn't it? I don't need anything else. So yeah, that was kind of observations really over my birthday. And like I said, as a parent, I'm trying to facilitate a good, strong relationship between my children, between themselves, encouraging it. And that's something obviously that I have reflected on as a child with siblings. I have reflected on that quite a lot, because I'm trying my hardest to, like I say, encourage my children to have a good, strong relationship, because between the three of them, I'm the common denominator, and I want them to have a strong sibling relationship, because I realize with my siblings that I don't have that. And I think as I have kind of spoken about my estrangement and my difficult relationships with my parents, I think that relationship with my parents has fundamentally impacted my relationship with my siblings. So I've just wrote a few things down here, and I think where parents actively, and I say actively because they're not trying to change it. So to me, they are participating in that actively. Where they actively facilitate estrangement between siblings, I believe that the parents benefit from that estrangement, because the child that has been moved out of the picture enables the remaining sibling to benefit from that parent. And from my own experience, because I can only ever speak from my own experience, that within my parents' world, they are quite insecure about their parenting. So therefore then they need validating. And I'm not validating my parents, so they're not going to get that side from me. And I feel that within that insecurity about their parenting, that then kind of expands into that inability to share love out equally, without placing one child as the golden child, the one that can do no wrong, the perfect child. One is always seen as that, whereas the others, for whatever reason, they kind of go down in the pecking order as well. So that's when that kind of love can feel a bit of competitive, a bit of competition that is fueled by a parent's inability to love unconditionally without conditions attached to it. So that kind of stands me back into Mother's Day and my perception of it. And like I said, from my point of view, where I am a parent, a child who has a difficult relationship with their parents, to being a mother and a mother of a daughter who is bereaved. So like I said, my main focus on Mother's Day is ensuring that my daughter is moving through Mother's Day with care, compassion, understanding. And I don't feel the need for that external validation on Mother's Day. So I had a conversation with one of my daughters on the Saturday before Mother's Day, and she's like, "Oh, I've not got you anything. I need to get you something." I'm like, really? I go, you don't need to do that. I don't feel the need to have that gift on Mother's Day because I'm a mother every other day. It doesn't take one day of receiving flowers or cards to make me feel any better than what I already do, because I get my joy. My joy comes from my children. My sorrow comes from my children. I am connected to them, and I don't feel the need for that. Same as if they didn't get me a gift on my birthday, or we don't really send cards. I don't think they're not really, don't really tend to have cards from them on my birthday or Mother's Day. I don't feel the need for a piece of cardboard for them to write a few words on and say this. I don't need that to demonstrate that they love me, because I know that I love them. I know that I love them. I know that they love me, and I don't need that external validation. I've never been one for kind of like those big displays. I don't post a lot on social media about my children. I don't find the need to thank them on social media. I hope they feel it. I hope they feel that they are important enough to me without me having to post a picture on social media and say that, because I just don't see the point. That's always in the everyday. So yeah, so that was my kind of reflections over on Mother's Day, and I kind of a sense of validation that I don't feel that need to be validated. That comes in my everyday, from them dropping a message, even on Valentine's Day, for instance. My youngest two came back with a bar of chocolate and a potted orchid for me on Valentine's Day. Now, I used to do little things like that on Valentine's Day when they were younger. I'd buy them a little box of chocolates and a card. And for them to do that, you know, they're 17 and did that for me. It's very sweet. And it's little things like that. So, and I said to my daughter, who was talking about the flowers, I mean, they did buy me flowers and chocolate. But I said it's the little things that are more thoughtful. The little hug, or the little, oh mom, I love you, that kind of unexpected, without prompt. You know, one of my daughters, our thing is sitting watching Gladiators. We do that either on a Saturday or a Sunday evening. That's our little thing. That's our little time that we have together. So it's those moments that to me are priceless. And it's unfortunate that, well, not unfortunate for me, it's unfortunate that my parents don't value that. But like I said, that says more about them than what it does about me, because I have that kind of, I'm working at having a stronger relationship with my children. And there might be times when we do fall out. There might be times when we have stern words. There might be times when they annoy me and I annoy them, very much so. But I am trying to do things differently. And I hope that they can see that. I'm far from perfect. And like I said, I am a work in progress, and I am working through a lot of things. And with that comes that sense of grief for what I've not got, that sense of envy sometimes of other people's relationships with their parents. But I know what I'm creating with mine is going to far, far exceed all of that. So for that, I'm really quite lucky. But I've had to go through that in my own experience to get to that point, to know how I want to parent, to know how I want things to be different with my children, how I want them to go off and do things together and not feel insecure and feel threatened by that, because how can you be threatened by your children getting on? It just seems ridiculous. Yeah, I have parents that seems to be their underlying fear, that their children would get on. I just think that's really quite bizarre. But like I said, I'm at a point where I am moving forward with my life, with my children, and for that I am very blessed. And it's not about me questioning my worth, because I think my worth is worth so much more. And I'm looking forward to this next decade and what that could mean for me, and stepping into this new. So going into obviously these next few months, I'm being very present, and I have shared that before. I am trying to stand in my power in the here and now, whilst being open to the love that I've had from my friends. It's been absolutely incredible to have such joy surrounded by me, that I am so very lucky that I have friends who support me, who see this next year as being my time, who are fully on board for doing whatever activities I want to, that they are excited and sharing in that excitement for me. And they can see within me how enlightened I am about the next year and what that can mean. And to see my friends light up with that as well, they're a good group. And I think sharing my birthday with people who have shared certain phases of my life has been absolutely crazy. One of my longest friends that I've had, I kind of steer away from saying oldest friend, because that sounds a bit saying that she's old. But my longest friends, we've been friends for I think 28 years, and that is the longest person I've known in like a friendship circle. And she's gone through life and seen very many different, not personas, because obviously I've always been the same person, but different phases of my life. And I feel very lucky to have her, because, and like we've met since then, and we were sharing a conversation, and it was very much that if something was happening in my life and I needed support, I would ring her, and I know that she would come. She would be probably the first person I would call, and equally, if she needed something, she knows that she could call on me. And for both of us, it was very much we would call each other rather than our parents. And that's significant, knowing that you've got someone like that in your corner who is there for you. And that's a real strong place to be, and an empowered place to be. So I feel lucky to have her in my corner. And I've got other people who I could equally draw on as well. So I've got people that are going to be supporting me, my little hype women who are going to be supporting me in this next phase. I've got friends who I've known slightly longer. I've got certain work colleagues that I can call on if I need anything, with my children. So it's a good place to be in, and I can curate a life for me that feels good, that feels supportive, that lights me up, that inspires me, that wants the best for me. Why wouldn't you want people like that around you, rather than people who ignore your existence? So for that, I'm very grateful. And that's one of the brilliant lessons that has come out of the last few years. And I feel in a really strong place. I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. And I'd had that wobble previously where I was starting to question myself and feel that kind of sense of why me? A little sense of unworthiness, questioning my very existence, and kind of going between two different worlds, rather than seeking the proof that I am loved, I am held. I don't need to seek that external validation, because before me and within my circle, I am very much loved. And for that, I am very grateful. There's a blessing in that lesson. And I can't ask for anything more. Well, I could ask for more. The universe is there for more. But within that, and that kind of beautiful reflection of being 50, standing in my awesomeness, because I am bloody awesome, I just feel it's a blessing. And I know that this phase, this year, is a huge turning point for me. It really is. And it's becoming more and more. I can just feel the momentum growing. And as I've said, my intuition is really strong. It's getting stronger, and things, it's like almost like sending, even if it's a word, even if it's a thought, writing down, and the proof is happening in real time. Now, that's not to say I'm going to put a lottery ticket on, because I don't do that, but my thoughts are changing. My belief set is changing. I am believing these things are possible. And that kind of sits into that little manifestation as well, because I'm changing my thought processes. I am being open to things. I am exploring different things. I am challenging my beliefs. I am learning more about the why, to kind of release and let go of some of those things that have weighed heavy on me. And I'm excited about. I'm excited. I'm so excited. So even with the reflections of my birthday, reflections of Mother's Day, I know that I am very blessed with what I have, because I am working hard to create a life that my children can be proud of, and that my legacy for them will continue, so they will then be open to other things as well. And as a parent, that's all you can hope for. That's all you can wish for, because your time here is limited. It's not forever. But within that becomes those lessons, becomes those conversations, becomes those like little joyful moments and silliness and times to reflect on. And for that, why wouldn't I be proud of what I've achieved? Why wouldn't I want to share in my child's joy? Why wouldn't I want to be there in my child's time of sorrow? So that is today's episode. I would love to know your thoughts on what I've spoke about today. What are your main takeaways? Share with me where you are in your journey, any kind of where you may feel inspired from today's episode, because where today's episode is, there is hope. There's hope for everybody. And I think this next decade for me feels like there is so much hope and so much joy and so much ahead, that it's time to let go of things that we can't change, and people that won't accept you as you are or are not. Okay, yeah, we'll leave that there. But thanks for joining me.